Hey guys, it's Spunkify here for MMOBomb.com and welcome back to our Forum Friday series. I am aware that this is of course not Friday and we had a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back on track now and I wanted to get this episode out to you guys as soon as I could. Now this is of course M.A.R.S, M-A.R.S, or Mercenary Assault Recon Squad, a 3D third-person FPS which is currently only available in Turkey. Now, the game was slated to actually come to the United States and Europe earlier this year under the name Mercenary Ops, which you may have already heard of from a earlier free-to-play weekly that we had in the year. However, after a short beta testing period, they deemed the game not ready for launch, and so they went back into beta/development to further progress the game. However, you can still play the Turkish version, and it is currently available and with little ping. I didn't really experience too much of a issue with ping or latency, etc. So let's go ahead and talk about the game and what exactly it is and how it plays. So like I said before, this is a third-person FPS. It borders along the lines of a Gears of War clone. And what I mean by borders is that it actually has a lot of the elements of Gears of War, kind of like the cover system, assisting allies if they've been down, picking up power weapons, and using cover to your advantage, kind of peeking out, etc. But, you know, Gears of War may not have been the first game to ever do that, so I don't want to say it's a Gears of War clone. Now, these elements are actually very welcome, in my opinion, to an FPS. We already have a lot of standard first-person shooters available, and a lot of good ones. You know, upcoming PlanetSide 2, we have Firefall, we have, of course, Warface coming out, which I covered in last week's episode of Forum Friday. But third-person, not so much, so I'm really glad to see another third-person FPS that has a lot of nice elements to it. So the cover system, which I showed off before, I talked about before, as you can see it in full swing here. You can use this to duck in between different buildings and kind of like see around the corners before you actually peek out. You can shoot behind those covers, but you don't really get a lot of accuracy. It's better to just kind of peek out and aim and then go back under as well. It also has an active reload system, which you guys may remember from games like Gears of War, where it comes up on the screen, and if you hit R at the right moment, you get a quicker reload, along with, in this case, I believe, extra damage on your bullets for a couple of bullets. So it's nice to actually hit it right on the mark, and it still is a little bit forgiving if you don't hit it quite on the mark. You still get that faster reload, you just don't get the bonus damage here. Now, one thing I will say is the maps in this game are really pretty interesting. There's a lot of mobility in some of the maps, a lot of kind of traps, or hazards, I guess you could say. In this one, for example, we are on a train, and as the train passes through these mountainous regions, we will occasionally, right here, as you can see, go through these tunnels. And now the tunnels, if you're on the top layer of the map, you actually can get taken out. The tunnel can kill you, decapitate you essentially, and so you do need to watch out for that. So I like that there's some mobility going on in the maps. I like the maps aren't static. There's different levels and different areas that you can actually go. Now, what you saw right there was just the PvP modes. The PvP modes, like I talked about before, they're pretty standard team deathmatch, free-for-all, you know, capture the flag, those kind of maps, but with the third-person perspective. What's really really impressive, in my opinion, is the PvE in the game, because it offers several modes available to players with different enemies. A lot of games that are free-to-play shooters have the same enemies for all their different PvE modes, but there's actually different enemies here for the different modes. In this case right here, we're kind of playing a wave-based mode where you fight against other, not mercenary, but you can say government officials. The storyline for Mercenary Ops or M.A.R.S here is that there's different government officials or different government agencies that kind of take control. They're companies that have taken control, and they now own or operate parts of the governments in the different areas of the world. And so you're fighting against them. And as you can see, there's very, very different enemies. This one right here has a kind of like electrical axe with a shield. You can only kind of take him out in sides. He's very lumbering and big. And one thing you can notice right here is the addition of power weapons. Now, I talked about power weapons a little earlier, but power weapons are available in both PvE and PvP modes. And what they offer to players is a short stint of increased firepower. Now, some of the weapons available to you are flamethrowers, which is what you can see here. There's also the availability of a minigun, which that guy just dropped, and you can pick that one up. There's a rocket launcher, and I believe there's also a grenade launcher as well. Now, they take the place of your primary. You can't actually switch weapons, there we go, when you are playing with this particular weapon, but you do get the increased firepower as well. In case of the minigun, you actually have to remain stationary if you want the best accuracy. Otherwise, you kind of move around with the minigun, but you're very slow with any of the guns that you carry that are power weapons. Again, available also in PvP, which reminds me a lot of the Gears of War series. Now, the wave system right here, as you increase in the amount of waves, or rather as you keep going in these waves, they'll get additional enemies, they'll do additional damage, and they'll kind of coordinate with each other. You can make them in a down state just like normal players, and the AI will pick each other up. They also will try to flank you. They'll use cover, as you can see, jump out of the way, which is nice to see. They're not just completely lumbering idiots that just run right at you straight on. So this map mode is one of the few PvE modes that I feel like really holds up for a PvE/PvP shooter, especially one that's free to play. This and Warface, I feel like, are games or are shooters that really have incorporated nice modes of PvE into the game and not just focus primarily on PvP. You can of course still get all the rewards just like you can in PvP, and it's got that whole system as well. Now I will say, of course, it's not open world like something like Firefall, but for a closed session-based shooter, quite fun, and up to 5 players can actually participate in this mode. I don't really know if the amount of players dictates or determines how hard it is, but I do know the maximum amount of players you can have in this mode in particular is 5. Now, moving on from this, we also have another very welcome addition mode, one that you may be extremely familiar with if you ever played Call of Duty, specifically any of the World at War or Black Ops Call of Duty, in that this is a zombie mode. And in the zombie mode, of course, you have stationary areas that you can repair to keep them from coming in. You also have weapon pickups and unlockable areas. So what I mean by unlockable areas here is a door that once you have accumulated enough points, you can then unlock that and move into more areas and have more area to work with. These, just like the other traditional zombie modes, as you continue to progress, you'll get harder and harder enemies. They'll have more armor on them. There's dogs, I believe, that carry bombs, kind of like an AoE gas. There's also, there's one of the dogs down there not carrying gas, but just biting at my ankles. And then you get like the lumbering giants, which are like these large guys carrying spikes, take a lot of damage. You do more damage to them, of course, if you hit them in the head, like any zombie, and those are actually quite hard to do. I found this mode a little bit more forgiving than like other zombie, modes from like Black Ops games, because you can help your allies up if they fall down, as well as if you've completely died, it does give you multiple chances in order to complete the round before it completely gives up. So if everybody's down, the round does not end. But instead, after a couple seconds, someone spawns and they try to attempt to fix or finish the round. So I do like that addition there, and it makes you feel like you're not waiting for the round to restart at the very beginning and fight all the way through. Now there is only a certain amount of rounds. I don't know if there's like an endurance mode where everybody can fight for as long as they want. This in particular had 12 rounds, I believe, and by the last round there were so many zombies that you had to fight that oftentimes you have to just kite them like you would in the other ones and just run around them. I think you can take like 2 or 3 hits from a zombie, and from the big zombies I think you can only take 1 before they actually get taken out. And so here we are, the rape train just coming down this line right here, the train of punishment, just kind of like going down and destroying all these zombies as they come up here. One of our allies back there did get taken out, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to get to him. But if we make it to the next round, they revive, which is nice to see. So round 4, we can move on, and this will be increased enemies, increased spawn rate, and they'll come much faster. So we only have a few seconds to actually repair any of these areas here before they begin to come again. Overall, guys, I really felt that this mode was one of the best PvE modes available for the game, especially since it is a third-person shooter, so you kind of get that sense of perspective of where you are in terms of everything else. I would say that if you enjoy PvE shooters, this will be a mode that people spend a lot of time in, and I like the fact that they included multiple PvE modes. Now, one of the modes, unfortunately, that I'm not going to be able to show you in this video was kind of a progressive story mode PvE, where you go through different levels and you progressed and you fought enemies and moved forward in the level as you went. And because what made that mode special, what made the mode interesting, is that it actually provided boss battles for you, where you fought different boss battles. Some of the boss battles I saw were a mechanical robotic turret, which had different abilities like rockets and lasers and guns that you had to watch out for, and you could actually destroy them individually as you progressed in the boss fight. So you could destroy the lasers or the rockets to kind of give yourself some breathing room, but you had to make sure you had to duck around, and there was different things that happened, a lot of different mechanics involved in those fights. Which, one thing I had when I complained about Warface last week is that Warface didn't have a lot of mechanics for the boss fights, whereas this did. Now, one thing here I showed off is the ability to kind of lock yourself in a room. If there's too many enemies and you feel like you're gonna get overwhelmed, you can lock yourself in a room to kind of fight with them through the bars, and or just buy yourself some time if you're wanting to run away. In this case, I just ended up wasting currency because there was no need. I just wanted to find out what was going on here, helping my little team out here and moving backwards. But yeah, the PvE modes are what brings replayability in my eyes. The PvP modes are good and fine and dandy. You know, it does give you that Gears of War sense. But a lot of people, you know, will get tired of that after a while because there's nothing really new or, you know, innovative about that mode. And here I'm finding out that I can't actually go the way that this large door falls down whenever the big guys come through, but you can't actually go through it once it falls down. You have to repair it. So that was a little bit like weird. But overall, guys, I do feel like this game will do well in North America. I feel it will do well in Europe, simply for the fact that it offers a tried and true PvP experience that is borderline Gears of War on third-person mode. And for those who don't want the kind of Ghost Recon tacticalist essence of that kind of mode or third person, they will find a more run and gun mode, I guess you could say, with M.A.R.S, or sorry, Mercenary Ops, the English version. So yeah, I do find that this will definitely appeal to people who are Gears of War fans. No doubt, no doubt. It's almost uncanny how much the resemblance of the two modes are. Cash shop wise, we can talk a little bit about that. The cash shop in the game seems to be fairly balanced. I didn't really see anything that was like blatantly overpowered to me. In fact, most of the weapons that I did see in the game had some kind of counterpart for the cash shop, but were more cosmetic looking versions of the weapons. So some of them appeared to be the same rifle, just gold skinned, or had different weird crazy skins on them as well. Maybe slightly different as far as like ability wise, you know, having a couple more bullets. And here I'm just getting myself trapped in the corner like an idiot. This guy's just going to crush me, I think. Yep, he's just going to step all over me and kill me. But we did end up finishing that mode. So as you can see, it's going to come up here. We'll be able to see a little bit of the cash shop items here. It's like crossbows. So I guess you could say somewhat more unique items are available in the cash shop, but not necessarily overpowered or stronger than the standard weapons, but just different. One thing that I did want to say that I didn't like is the fact that everything you purchase is off of a time-based system, so 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, 30 days. I'm more of a fan of permanent system. I think everybody's more of a fan. So that was a little disheartening. But I like the fact that you can buy things like upgrades to your weapons, like silencers, different barrels, you know, different things to customize your weapons to how you want to play. I'm glad they added that. And I'm glad that this, you know, that should be standard in most FPSs now. But sometimes people miss out on that. You can just buy weapons with no upgrades. So I don't know what that's about. But overall, guys, I enjoyed this game. I think guys should try it out, or at least be on the lookout for the North American European version. Hopefully they come out of beta soon, or come back into beta soon. But this has been it for this week's Foreign Friday series. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys for the next episode. This has been Spunkify. Spunkify out!